Hello, testing. Everybody on? Sound is good now? Oh boy, is sound on now? Sound is good, coach. All right, we got sound. Beautiful. Guys, my apologies. I'm such a beginner at technology. I got the new mic. I got this whole software thing. I'm still getting used to it. You fixed it. Okay, good. Awesome. Sorry about that, guys. My apologies. My apologies. Getting good at, getting better and better, I should say, at this technology stuff. All right, guys, a bunch of announcements to make. I just spoke to Mr. Joe Rogan. Mr. Joe Rogan and me are booked June 19th. June 19th, 1 p.m. I will be on his podcast. I will be in LA in June. So we are doing the podcast. For those of you who've been asking, it is June 19th. Hopefully, we're going to have a lot of fun. Make sure to tune in for Joe's podcast, June 19th. Also, I will be in England this weekend. Saturday, I am giving a seminar in Leeds. So be sure to go to the seminar if you're in that area, Leeds, England, this Saturday at the Scramble Academy. So if you guys want to come and train, check me out. Come see the Scramble Academy this weekend, this coming weekend, at the Scramble Academy in Leeds. So check that out. Special thank you to TimTam.tech. TimTam.tech, they make the world's best deep tissue therapy device. Everything you need for recovery. Check out TimTam.tech. Keep your body lean and healthy, recovered. Keep those workouts flowing by staying healthy and recovering well between workouts, and keep injury at bay by keeping your muscles very, very supple with the TimTam.tech device, power device from TimTam.tech. Also, I wanted to give a shout out to the Tristar dorms. For those of you who want to train at the Tristar dorms, just email tsdorms@gmail.com. You see the email address right there on your screen. It should be up on your screen. Email for vacancy and training costs. The costs are really, really reasonable, super low. And come train with me and the guys at TriStar Gym. Lots of us training there every single day. I'm there every single day, 2 to 3 times a day, running practice. So with that said, let's get started with this podcast. I'm just going to hit record here so I can upload this on YouTube later. On, what do you call it again? iTunes. All right, I'm recording on my phone at the same time, so I won't have trouble uploading this later. Let's take the first question. All right, you guys are really happy about me doing the podcast. Happy to hear it. It'll be fun. Are you only going to be in Leeds, nowhere else in England? No, I'm not going to be doing another seminar. I know I was asked to do 2 seminars, but I'm just going to keep it really, really low key because I have 4 guys fighting on the card. I want to make sure I'm super available for the fighters. So I'm going to make sure that I keep my time as open as possible for them. So I'm just going to be doing 1 seminar. I'm going to sneak it in on Saturday when the fighters are finishing up their weight cut and weighing in. I'm going to be with you guys who are there in Leeds. We're going to be doing some fun jiu-jitsu wrestling stuff. We're going to have a good time and do a nice little seminar. All right, first question here. What do we got? What do we got today? All right, what do we got? Here's a very important question. How do you get the stink out of boxing gloves? Let me tell you something. I can't stand it when people, this is a good question because I'll tell you why. I can't stand it when people have smelly gloves. You're sparring with somebody and they're sparring with smelly gloves. Guys, it's unethical. It's just totally unethical. And I tell people if they come in the gym with smelly gloves, I tell them, guys, you got to get your gloves. You got to trade your gloves. First of all, once they're infected, they're infected. In my opinion, I've never come across a really good method. So for those of you out there who know a good method to take the stink out of a glove, I personally haven't come across it. So if you have it, please put it in the comment area. But I'll tell you something. Once a glove is infected with a stink, I get rid of it. The glove is done, in my opinion. I've tried everything. I've tried the wood chips. I've tried the sprays. I've tried alcohol. I mean, the alcohol just burned the glove. It broke the fabric inside. I've ruined so many gloves. And to prevent that funk, that smell, that stink on the glove, number one rule, okay, is never share your gloves. Never share your gloves. If somebody asks to borrow your 16-ounce gloves, tell them, look, dude, we can't share gloves. I've noticed whenever I share a glove and I get it back a week later, the glove stinks, it's done. Now, I don't know why that is. Might be because the bacteria in another person's hand doesn't mix with, I don't know what. Like, I have no idea why. But I've noticed that sharing gloves always brings about a stink. Always. So personally, I don't share gloves. If somebody asks me to share their gloves, I have a always a backup pair that I use for, let's say, a pro walks in and didn't have his gloves or had a problem with his glove or lost a glove. Like I have a few reserve pairs, right? Because I'm a boxing trainer, I'm a MMA trainer, so I got a lot of gloves. But those gloves are not my personal gloves that I use on a regular basis. So I have backup gloves for that particular situation. However, very important. If you're just a recreational athlete and you got one good pair of sparring gloves and they cost, $120, $140, don't share them. If you share them, they're going to stink, or likely they're going to stink. Second rule, keep your gloves dry, guys. Open up the laces, air them out, keep them as dry as possible. And yes, you can put those little sacks that they make that has to dry up humidity and all that. You can put like a boot dryer. You can put your fan on a boot dryer. You can do all sorts of things to dry them up. I used to use this thing you plug in the wall and it kind of heats up the glove. And I've done all those things, but for me, it works really well. I don't use hand wraps when I spar. So for me, I rarely use hand wraps. I only use hand wraps if my hands are hurting. I like to punch with a bare hand in the glove. And I don't use wraps, so I find that my gloves stay drier. I know it might sound weird, but I find that the wrap soaks up a lot of sweat, and then you put that wrap in there, it's full of bacteria, and that probably infects the glove. I don't use wraps, so my gloves usually smell really good, always dry. And I know, listen guys, I know I might have went a little bit long on that question, but that's a really important question. For those of you who train, you all know that horrible feeling of losing a great pair of gloves because they smell bad. How do you incorporate strikes in BJJ class? Full contact sparring or very light and dedicated to movement? I like light and dedicated to movement. When you ground and pound, when you're doing MMA practice and you're doing ground and pound and you see one guy hitting the other guy really hard and just punishing him, it's like, dude, let him save his brain cells. What's the point? If you went light or you went hard, does it change anything? The guy's on the ground. It doesn't really change much. The guy's there. He's stuck. Just be really gentle when you're doing ground and pound MMA sparring. Be really gentle. Be really friendly. You'll have more and more sparring partners. More and more people will want to train with you. More and more people will be happy to do an extra round with you. Don't be one of those guys when you walk in the gym, nobody wants to spar with him. Don't be that guy, okay? Number one, you run out of sparring partners. And number two, it's just a horrible way to live and be, because one day you're going to get it too. Don't forget, one day that guy that you've been beating on, he's going to get his day. He's going to get his day where he's going to find himself mounted on you. He's going to get his day where, the ball just bounced his way that day. And now it's time for payback. So try to keep a good atmosphere in the gym. Don't hurt the atmosphere in the gym. Keep it friendly. Make sure everybody gets a benefit. Make sure everybody enjoys the training. And the practice room should be full all the time. If you have a good environment and a good atmosphere in the gym, it should be full all the time. You should have plenty of sparring partners. Is running the best form of cardio? Well, I think this is a very, very touchy point because people are very religious about running. Okay, and I know that people are very religious about the way that they condition themselves. I will tell you, personally speaking, if I had to choose one exercise, let's say I can only do one exercise for fighting, and I'm competing in fighting, and I can only do one exercise, I would choose sprints. I wouldn't choose any lift. I wouldn't choose anything over sprints. I would choose running, but literally sprinting, not jogging. Now, here's why. Okay, there's something called ground force reaction. What's ground force reaction? Well, they measured runners. Okay, who's the fastest runner? Does it have to do with their technique? Does it have to do with the way they plant their foot on the ground? It's a very mysterious question. Even till this day, I don't think anybody has a 100% sure answer. However, the common denominator for the number one component that from what I've understood from the literature I've read is ground force reaction. The less time your foot spends on the ground, obviously, the faster you're running. Now, why is that? Because the faster runner his ground force reaction, when the foot is going from, when the muscles are going from a positive to a negative contraction, from a negative to a positive contraction, the runner can do that faster. Okay, so when your muscles going through an elongation or a negative contraction, an eccentric contraction, it's stretching, it's elongating, and it's storing elastic energy. When you stretch a rubber band, you're storing some elastic energy. So your muscles do the same. The one who can go from stretching to contracting faster, he's going to limit his ground contact on the ground, and therefore he's going to have a greater speed of running. Now, there is technique. There are other factors, no doubt about it. There are other factors, but this seems to be the major factor, the common denominator. Every time they've measured a faster runner, he had a lesser ground time reaction, a faster strengthening, shortening cycle, the lengthening and shortening, that cycle of lengthening and shortening was shorter, was faster, was more powerful. And that equates to power, okay? So this ground force reaction, in my opinion, is best trained by running. So some people use biking, but in biking, that going from positive to negative is very gradual, especially when compared to sprinting. Sprinting, your foot is on the ground for a fraction of a second. If you're going to use rowing, again, the same problem. The force is being distributed to the rower at a much slower rate. Okay, you're spending less calories per second. It's less powerful. So if you move an object, let's say you move a 100-pound object, and it takes you 3 seconds to take it from point A to point B. Well, I can move the same object, but now I'm going to take one second to move it from A to B. I have to be applying more power. Okay, so power is not only strength, but strength over time. Okay, how much do you move, but under how much time? The time is a huge factor for MMA. That explosiveness is super important. That's why I personally don't do a lot of deadlifts or squats, because squats and deadlifts are slow. I think a small amount of that is fine, but at the end of the day, you have to do the explosive lifts. Okay, that's why I like sandbag training. I'm a big believer in sandbag training. Why? Because I can throw the sandbag. I can chuck it up over my shoulder. I like those big giant slam balls, those 80-pound slam balls, those 100-pound slam balls. Whatever I can do dynamically, ballistically, I can throw it in the air. I like the Olympic lifting for that exact same reason. However, sprinting, in my opinion, is the fastest way. It's a much faster contraction. So when you're boxing, when you're shooting those doubles, that bounce that you get off the ground is always going to be superior if you're a runner, in my opinion. You could always have been faster. So if you condition yourself using a rowing or cycling, you could have been faster if you used sprinting. Now, the downside of sprinting is the impact. There's an impact on the knees, on the hips. There's a general danger of running, okay? Now, you could blow your hamstring. You could injure yourself. So if you're very sensible, you won't sprint 100% capacity. You'll sprint 80% of your capacity, 90%, but never go to 100% of your capacity. You'll still get a lot of the benefits of sprinting, but you'll minimize the dangers and the recovery time needed to recover from those sprint workouts. Now, don't forget, you're also doing grappling, you're also doing wrestling, you're also doing boxing, you're also doing all these other sports. Why would you tax your system with the sprint workouts? Those sprint workouts are going to help you. They're going to help you recover between rounds during a fight. They're going to help you with your power. They're going to help you with your footwork. They're going to help you in a lot of ways, but you don't want to train like a sprinter per se. Okay, you don't want to sprint at 100%. Sprint 70 to 90%, fluctuate between that percentage of exertion, and don't go to 100% sprint. Once you go 100% sprint, you're flirting with injury. And of course, adopt some good running mechanics. Okay, some good running mechanics. I recommend pose running. I really like pose running. I find it saves the knees. And all the research I've read, pose running was the most mildest on the knees. But the downside of pose running is it's more stressful on the Achilles. So I just don't land on the front of the foot as much. I kind of land in the middle of the foot, and I find it saves my Achilles. If you're not familiar with pose running, check out pose running, P-O-S-E. Do a little research on pose running, and it should help keep your knees alive. And, MMA guys, we all know it's always the knee. It's always a knee injury. Look at Tony Ferguson. And he tripped over a rope and hurt his knee. But I guarantee you that knee was injured in practice. He might not have known it. He might have not have noticed it. Or he had a lot of inflammation in his knee because of all that MMA training he does. Obviously, he does a lot of MMA training. And that inflammation weakens the joint. It creates an instability in the joint and whatnot. So you got to protect those knees. Adopt pose running. It's the mildest on the knees. Okay, we got a super chat here. Let me see. Did he pose a question? No, Med, you didn't pose a question. Just pose a question. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Med, I didn't include my message. Okay, Med, I'm listening to you. My message is, how can you have Nick Diaz cardio? Is it even possible for a normal guy? Look, I believe, from my observation, I believe that cardio is heavily genetic. I couldn't see anybody arguing against this claim. However, or convincingly argue against this claim. However, you can greatly influence your level of cardio, obviously. Now, did you ever notice that Nick Diaz is a bit of a slow starter? Like when he fights, he starts slow and then he ramps it up. And by the end of the fight, he's really on fire and he's hitting it hard and he's just like all over the guy. Have you noticed that? Well, that probably has a lot to do with the way he trains. Remember, he does a lot of marathon running, cycling, endurance man, Ironman kind of stuff. So For sure, he'll never run out. He'll never run out of gas. But when you run a marathon, do you start really really hard? Do you start really really fast, or do you save yourself for the end of the race? Obviously, you save yourself for the end of the race, right? So you see, he fights a lot like how he trains. He kind of starts slow and then picks it up, and then at the end of the fight, he's really on fire. And that's the typical Nick Diaz formula. He starts a little bit slow. He's notorious for not being as strong in round 1 as he is in round 3, 4, and 5. And why is that? Exactly the way he trains. I would recommend, if I was training Nick Diaz, I would recommend sprints. I would really go the opposite way. I would recommend interval sprints, and near the end of the intervals, we do some longer runs, maybe, etc., to mimic the fight. That in the last round, the last 5 minutes feels a lot more different than the first 5 minutes of a fight. Each minute in the last round feels a lot longer. Okay, so we do like longer reps at the end of the workout. But he misses that explosiveness, that pop. And I think you can have both worlds. You can have that pop, that explosiveness, and you can also have that unbeatable cardio. And don't forget, cardio has a lot to do with how fast your heart rate comes back down in between rounds. Don't forget, you're getting a minute break. So doing intervals teaches your system to bring that heart rate back down real quickly. My only critique of interval running or interval sprinting is that it can injure you. Okay, so guys just do go too full out. Coaches tell their guy, hey, go full out 100%. And that's wrong in my opinion. Just hit the 80-85% mark. Okay, this is it's intuitive, right? There's no real 100% way to know that you're at 80 or 90% of capability, but you can figure it out. You know your body, you're running, you know you can give a little more. Always keep some in the gas tank. Always keep some in reserve. Okay, especially the more shorter the run, the more dangerous the run. So if you're doing a 50-meter sprint or a 100-meter sprint, that's a lot more dangerous than an 800-meter sprint. Why? You're crossing more meters per second. The more intense the run, the more dangerous the run. So think about driving your car and redlining it all the time. You know, your transmission at the end of the month or at the end of the year is going to be a mess. You know, your mechanic's going to be like, what are you doing? What did you do with this car? This is a brand new car. You've completely trashed it. It's the way you're driving it. Okay, so keep health first, always in mind, and ramp up the intensity slowly and never go 100%. You should be able to train for life this way. We got another super chat here. Something 96. Motivation for working out when you're significantly overweight and hit a major plateau. Salams from Australia. Also, when are you visiting? I've just been in Australia a few months ago. Love the place, guys. I love the Australia. Don't think I'm going to be doing that trip again soon. That was a long, long trip. Okay, so if you're severely overweight, how do you get motivated to train? Well, listen, it's all in your head. You really got to motivate yourself every day. If you have a way to motivate yourself, work with a partner, find somebody out there who has the same problem, and you guys are going to coach each other, and you guys are going to put up a goal, and you guys are going to work on this goal. This is going to be priority 1. Your goal is going to be priority 1. Losing weight, getting in shape is priority 1. Your health is priority 1. There's nothing more important than your health. You got to let that sink in. Now, how do you do it? Well, listen, very simple. You have to put consistency over intensity. When you're working out, don't try to do like those Rocky movies and punish yourself, and the next day you wake up and you feel like you got hit by a bus. Okay, you got to do consistency. We're going to train 5 to 6 days a week. Okay, on a bad week, we're only going to train 4 times a week. The strategy is to turn on the metabolism every day. Learn to get your pleasure from training and not from eating. Okay, people eat because they're bored. People eat because it's fun. It's a social thing to do. You see a friend, hey, what do you want to do? Let's do something. We got to do an activity together. What do you want to do? Well, let's grab some food. Food is everywhere. Food is plentiful. And food is fun. Food is delicious. People eat not because they're necessarily hungry. People generally eat because they are bored. Okay, so we eat just to entertain ourselves. Learn to replace that entertainment with something even funner, something even more interesting, like doing sports. Okay, that's why I'm not a big believer in just doing fitness itself, like doing a weight routine or running routine, because that gets boring. That's not fun. That's not entertaining. But if you go to jiu-jitsu or you go to a kickboxing class, it doesn't have to be a competitive class, or you go to soccer, or you go to play a baseball game. You're spending calories. You're out there. You're spending energy. You're playing hockey. You're doing whatever activity it is, and time is flying by and you're enjoying yourself. So find a way to enjoy yourself, but also find a way to be consistent. Save some for tomorrow. We're training again tomorrow. Don't burn yourself out. So if somebody were to put intensity over consistency, he'd be the type of person who trains really hard, then he's sore for 2-3 days, and he's just recovering, feeling miserable for 2, 3 days. And then he starts to associate that training equals 2, 3 days of misery. Okay, we want to distance ourselves from that as much as possible. Training has to be fun. Training has to be entertaining. Training has to be pleasurable. We want to make training addictive, even more addictive than eating. And if you do that, you'll be successful. You won't need me to tell you how to motivate yourself. It'll be a snowball effect. You'll be creating that snowball effect. Working out will be easier and easier. And if I told you, hey, today we can't work out, we got to go travel, you're going to be like, oh man, I'm bummed out. Like today, I got to travel later today. So that's why today I'm a little bit off schedule. But if you're telling me I can't train today, which I'm a little bit bummed. Today I was a little bit bummed. I cannot go to the gym and go through my routine. It's a little bit of a bummer for me. So, get to that point where training is addictive. How do you get there? I'm going to say it one last time. Consistency over intensity. Consistency over intensity. All right, guys, let me move on to the next one here. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? I've done some intermittent fasting. I think it's very, very good. I think it's an excellent, excellent strategy. I think it works for a lot of people. I like to do it once in a while. I still do it. And, I've done a lot of fasting in my life. I'm doing it right now. It's Ramadan right now. For those of you who don't know, it's Ramadan month. Everybody's out there. All the Muslims of the world is fasting. There's a lot of benefit to fasting. One, I found it a huge help for inflammation. Fasting just kills inflammation. Okay, I don't know the science behind it necessarily, but I've read reports about it. I've experienced it myself, and it's a great way. Prolonged fasting kills inflammation. My wife does fasting as well. She has rheumatoid arthritis, and when she does her fast, inflammation just disappears. It just goes down. Fasting also, you get to a point when you're fasting where you feel amazing. Now, you get to some points where you're not feeling so good. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's not always fun. But there are points where you get almost euphoric, where you feel like you almost don't need to eat again. You think, hey, I'll never eat again. Like I know it's not true, right? Obviously, it's just a feeling. It's like a phase you go through where you feel enlightened, you feel clear-headed, you feel something very special. And then there's the other side, a flip of the coin, where you don't feel so good, you feel tired, you feel grumpy, everything annoys you. So there is that. Okay, there is that. Now, why do I do intermittent fasting sometimes? Well, sometimes I have a wedding to go to, or I have an event to go to, and I know that when I go to that event, I've got to eat. Why? Because people are going to be like throwing food my way, and they're going to be begging me to taste it, and they're going to be like, it's a social event. You don't want to be that person who says, no, I've reached my caloric limit. No, I'm not eating carbs. Or it's a feast. People are happy. People are there. It's a social gathering. Everybody's enjoying the food. So what do I do in that case? Well, this is what I do. Usually weddings are on a Saturday, or a thing like that is on a Saturday. Friday night, I'll have a regular meal. Saturday, I zip it up. I only drink water, coffee. I'm doing my intermittent fast. I try not to eat about 16 to 18 hours before the banquet or whatever. Now, when I get there, I'm eating. I'm feasting. The food, and the great thing about fasting is food tastes unbelievably good. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, okay? Resetting your palate with intermittent fasting. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But when you get to the banquet, now you can eat the carbs, you can eat the fats, you can enjoy the food and not feel bad about it. And the next day, you're going to check yourself on the scale, you're going to weigh the same. Now, of course, you can't overdo it. I mean, if you put your mind to it and completely overeat, and you eat like 2-3 days worth of food in one sitting, obviously that doesn't work. Okay, you have a 4-hour eating window roughly about in intermittent fasting. They give you, some people use 6 hours, some people use 4 hours. And in that 4 hours, you're going to enjoy that wedding. You're going to eat. You're going to feast. You're going to consume foods that are delicious, and you're going to enjoy yourself. You're not going to feel guilty about it. So that's how I use intermittent fasting. It works. It's a strategy that I use when I know I have an upcoming event. Now, how about somebody who is just in a rut? Okay, so if you're in a rut and you're addicted to fast foods. So let's say you're a person he's always at McDonald's, he's always eating packaged foods. He's always reaching for chips. When you eat healthy foods, it just doesn't taste good. It feels bland. You taste it and it's bland. Well, I really highly recommend my clients who have that kind of problem to use intermittent fasting. Just bite the bullet. Go 16 hours without food. Then go and eat a moderately healthy, delicious plant-based food. Okay? Even a salad, chicken salad, is going to taste amazing to you. if you haven't eaten for 16 to 18 hours. If you haven't eaten for 16 to 18 hours, it's an easy way to reset your palate. If your palate has been abused, you've been, it's years of junk food, and now you had enough. You want to go healthy. Intermittent fasting, I find, is a great way to lose weight very fast, reset the palate, and use it on special occasions where you got to go somewhere and have a feast. Hope that helps you get your diet on track. Okay, what do we got here? Raw diet for inflammation as well. Yes, absolutely. Raw diet is super good for inflammation. Imanari roll, pour toi, c'est une vraie technique pour développer ou pas? Elkun, yes, I'm going to translate that. Elkun is asking me, is the Imanari roll, is it something, is that like just a fad technique, or is it something that really works and you should drill? I believe in it. I do it once in a while. I find it only works if you catch your opponent by surprise. So if you're going to base your whole game on the Imanari roll, your opponents are eventually going to catch on, right? So then when you go for it, they're going to see it from a mile away. Now, the best Imanari roller, and it's not really an Imanari roll, it's more the Ryan Hall roll, is in Ryan Hall, obviously. The Ryan Hall roll, if you guys haven't seen it, he did it beautifully on The Ultimate Fighter. He did it beautifully in the UFC. He's the best roller in the world. Okay, no doubt about it. He's the best at it in the world. I've gotten to work with him personally. So for those of you who are doing a future Ryan Hall seminar, ask him about that roll. That's his contribution. That's one of many contributions he's made to the jiu-jitsu world. That roll is a dangerous weapon, because if you get too aggressive and you try to get too brave when you attack him, he might roll into your legs and break one of your legs off. And he's using it more of a counter, as opposed to kind of desperately trying to rush somebody to the ground, rolling on your back. Okay, so I think you could use it both ways. You could use it as an attack or as a counter. The counter, in my opinion, is the better of the two, because it's more accurate. It's more, I should say, not more accurate. It's more, how do you say that? It's more effective. It'll work better. And we all saw Ferguson also use it. He's also used it very well. He scored it beautifully on Barboza, and that definitely changed the tempo of the fight. So check out Ryan Hall, check out Ferguson, and those guys are excellent rollers. Let me see here. For some reason, it froze on me. Let me see here. All right, I think we're still on here. Thoughts on grappling dummies? I don't really use the grappling dummies, to be honest with you guys. I've experimented with it a little bit. I'm not too crazy about it. I don't think it's super motivational for me. If you're motivated to drill on it, go ahead. But I just find it kind of boring. I rather shadow wrestle. I rather just kind of like shadow wrestle, kind of wrestle in my mind, just like you would shadow box. You could do shadow wrestling. But the best is to, in my opinion, drill with a live partner, flow roll, and then live roll. I like those three. Those are the three things that I do specifically. I don't really use a lot of wrestling dummies. 5 a.m. workouts, good idea. Yes, definitely for losing weight. If you want to lose weight, the earlier the better. Why? Because you jumpstart your system, right? So if you turn on your system and you turn it on early in the day, your system's on fire all day long, right? The adrenal glands have fired, and that adrenaline is in your system all day long. However, if let's say you train at 9 p.m., so you turn on your system, okay, you've turned on your metabolic rate, you've turned on that sympathetic system, your body's burning, and then you go to bed. Well, when you go to bed, you're turning off the system, you're slowing it down, so you're losing all those hours of heat your body could be creating. Okay, so make sure to if you're trying to lose weight, make sure to work out early in the morning. Hey coach, best workout to develop good cardio in rolling, in grappling. Well, here's my tip for you. Do extra rounds. Okay, so let's say your quotas. Let's say you go, you're a jiu-jitsu guy. You're doing jiu-jitsu Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're not dedicating your entire life to it, but you would like a little extra juice. Okay, and let's say you're training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you're rolling 3 rounds. So you did an hour of technique with your coach, or 40 minutes of technique with your coach. You rolled your 3 rounds. That's your standard quote, and you head home. You grab your gym bag and you head home. You hit the showers and you head home. I would recommend, look, do your 3 rounds, take a little break, and then roll a 4th round. But take a little break. Don't try to do 4 rounds in a row. Take a little break. And then as time goes by, try to do 4 rounds in a row. Once in a while, when you're feeling really good, do 4 rounds in a row. And then if you hit 4 rounds in a row, take a little break and then try to add a 5th round. Extra rolling is a great way to get extra cardio. Extra rolling is a great way to get extra cardio. Okay. Now, another great complement to grappling is body weight exercises. Use a lot of body weight exercises. One of the major advantages of body weight exercises is it doesn't affect your nervous system as much as weight training. So you get a lot less recovery time needed. Okay, so there are a lot of great body weight exercise videos out there, a lot of body weight exercise manuals out there, and body weight exercises, it's very hard to hurt yourself with the body weights. Okay, so if you're using weights and you go too heavy, you might get sore, you might get tight. You don't need a lot of weights. I like weights. I think weights are good. They have a place. So I'm not trying to tell you guys don't use weights at all. I'm saying body weight is a great way, and another great way to build that endurance for grappling. One of my favorite ways is sandbag. Do a lot of sandbag carries. Grab a sandbag, walk around for 5 minutes holding a sandbag. Just walking around up and down the mat for 5 minutes. Hold that sandbag. Try not to lock your arms. Hold it open grip and walk back and forth. Do that for 5 minutes. Do that after practice. And I guarantee you, your grappling endurance is going to go through the roof. And there's just a lot of great ways to condition your body, but just try to not create soreness. That's my my number one tip I always give people. Train, but don't create soreness. How long have you trained with Mercier? About for a very long time. More than, I would say, probably 10 years. Nick Newell, I'm not sure. Oh, yes, Nick Newell in the UFC. Well, I don't know if you're telling me he's in UFC, but I don't think he is, obviously. But I'm not sure what you mean by that. I've never worked with Nick Newell, so I'm not sure of his level. I've heard he's really good. I'm not sure if he's UFC level. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I personally haven't worked with him. I don't know. What is the breakfast of champions, Mr. Zahabi? Well, listen, you want to have high energy, guys. When you're going to practice, a lot of people shoot themselves in the foot by overeating in the morning, or having, like, I remember I've done this myself. I had a bowl of cereal. Milk doesn't work well for me. I don't know about you guys, but milk doesn't work well for me. And I would notice, hey, my cardio was really bad today. Well, what'd you have for breakfast? You know, when I was younger, I didn't think it mattered what you had for breakfast. Now I know a lot better, obviously. What I like to eat for breakfast, I like to eat dates and water, dried dates and water, organic dried dates and water. And I feel great. Why? Super easy to digest, high in sugar, high in fiber, so it lowers the glycemic index of the sugar. It lowers the glycemic index. It's absorbed slowly. Dry dates, number one, can go bad, wrong. I think it'll work for like 90% of the 95% of the population out there. Dry dates will work for you. You'll feel great. Water, dry dates. I also eat Fiber One bars. I eat like 2 of them. It's 260 calories only. Lots of sugar, lots of fiber. That's like, I believe it's 18 grams of fiber if you have 2 of them. And again, it's the same idea. Water, lots of water. You know, you got to drink 2-3 glasses in the morning of water. Hydrate in the morning. You're probably, if you're training regularly, you're probably more dehydrated than you know. Mr. Zahabi, how do you stop flinching when punches are thrown at you? Great question. Hold on a second. Let me just adjust this here. How do you stop flinching? Well, listen, you got to spar with somebody who's not going to hurt you. You know, you're probably sparring with somebody that's too scary for you. Somebody is going too rough. Go to the touch sparring. Like at Tristar, we do touch sparring. We have touch sparring classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So when somebody comes in and they're green and they're not as experienced, we tell them, look, go to the touch sparring class. You're not allowed in the advanced sparring or the pro sparring, obviously. You know, you're not ready for that. You're not ready for higher contact. And you go in there and it's just hours of sparring that'll kill that flinch reflex. When I started sparring, I flinched as well. I had all sorts of flinching problems, you know. But you got to bite the bullet. But if you go through those hours with somebody beating you up, punishing you, breaking your bones, you know, hurting your ribs, your nose, you know, it's not going to make sense. You got to go to a friendly gym. At TriStar, we have hard sparrings, but we also have more light sparrings than we have hard sparrings. Hard sparring is only for a handful of people. It's only for the majority of my students. The members of Tristar all do the touch sparring. I do the touch sparring. Why? I'm not a competitive fighter. It's a once in a while thing where I'll go in the hard sparring. Once in a while. Why would I put all those hours? Why would I put all those miles of damage on my body if I'm not preparing for a fight? So I think the more experienced you are, the less of the hard sparring you need. So you got to go through the touch sparring, and then you're going to go through a phase where you're going to go through hard sparring. So why? Because you don't know what it is. A lot of techniques might not work for you when you're doing hard sparring. You got to go and explore the hard sparring. There's definitely a period of time where you got to go and see what it's about. But once you know what it's about, you know what's realistic and what's not. Once you get more of an understanding of what is realistic and what is not, you can do just a little bit of hard sparring once in a while, and it'll be enough. I just got to check on this mic here a sec. Oh boy, I got the gain all the way down here. I think that's a mistake. All right, hopefully the sound is even better now. I'll move this back a little bit. Okay, so getting over your flinch reflex, simple. Do lots of sparring, but with sensible people, somebody who's not going to hurt you, somebody who's not going to punish you. Don't go to a tough guy gym where, they just punish each other. That's a really bad idea. All right, what else we got here? Is it possible to just touch spar? Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. I do it all the time. Do you guys want me to play you a video of me touch sparring? I could do that now if you guys give me a minute. Vote yes if you want to see a video of me touch sparring. Oops. Okay. Vote yes, guys. If you want to see a video of me touch sparring, I'll put one up right now. Let's see. If I get 10 yeses, I'm going to do it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, touch sparring it is, guys. And those of you listening to this on iTunes, you're missing out. You should have opted for the video. All right, I'm going to play a video of me touch sparring right here. Give me a sec, guys. I'm going to whip it up for you right now. Let's see here. Sparring. All right, here it is. Here's my video. All right, let's whip it up here. A special thank you to my friend Tanya for this video. Super Saiyan Magical Girl. She goes by the name Super Saiyan Magical Girl. Make sure to reach out to her if you need. Excellent, an excellent photographer. All right, guys, you gotta give me a second because I gotta use this software. My new technological skills right now. I am now able to capture screens. Capture screen. All right, let's see. Monitor now. Window. Holy moly, I'm getting good at this technology stuff, guys. I'm surprising myself. I can't believe it. Okay, here it is. Here's the video. It actually worked. Let me pump it out to your side here. All right, do you guys see this? Tell me if you see this. All right, here we go. I think we're on. All right, I think it's working. All right. All right, you guys are seeing this. Okay, so let's see. This is a touch sparring class. Okay, it was a hot summer's day. Not too many people today, and we're sparring. We're touch sparring. The screen's going to adjust here shortly. You guys are going to get a better view. It's a little bit too tight here, but she's going to move back here. All right, so look, this is just a friendly touch sparring session. I'll do 10, 15, 20 rounds like this. Maybe sometimes just 5 rounds, but I'm not going to get banged up. Neither is my partner. We're going to have fun. We're going to spar. We're going to enjoy the sparring. And if somebody's going too hard, he's going to get a warning. We're going to ask him to step off the mat and cool off for a bit and join us back again. Look at me and my partner. We're just having fun here. This is the best way, guys. If you want to lose weight and get in shape, the best way to do it is touch sparring. It's the funnest. It burns more calories. Like when I want to get lean, I just do extra rounds of touch sparring. It's way better than running or doing like cardio, any which way, man. This is the best way to get the heart pumping, sweating, the best way to sweat, and the best way, no doubt about it, to lose weight. 110%. No doubt about it. I could lose an infinite amount of weight. Why? Because I'm having fun. I'm having so much fun right now, sparring like this. There's a few kicks. Nobody's going hard here. We know each other. We sparred many times together. We're just having some fun. You know, it's just a question of attitude. A lot of guys spar hard because they're scared. or they don't know what they're doing, you know. But my partner here, he's a good fighter, you know. He's a good amateur, very very successful amateur. He's gonna be in the pro. He's gonna be in UFC one day. This guy, you'll see my man here I'm sparring with. He'll be in UFC one day. You guys will be watching him there, and he's a tough guy. But we're just having fun here. Nobody's trying to injure the other. There's a little low kick. That's touch sparring. Maybe I tenderize his leg a little bit there. I'm gonna ease off. Watch, you'll see me ease off here a little bit. Those would just be little left taps. Why? Because I don't want to injure him. I don't want him injuring me. Having fun, guys. It's all about that attitude, having good attitude when you're sparring. How often do I touch spar? I like to try to touch spar 2 times a week. If I had more time, I would touch spar 3-4 times a week. If I had more time, but I run a lot of pro practices and stuff like that, and unfortunately, I can't get on in the touch sparring classes as often as I would like. So here it is, guys. That's touch sparring. That's 3 minutes of touch sparring. All right, I'm gonna cut this. That's all it is, guys. Is it possible to touch spar? Of course it is. There's your proof right there. All right, am I back on here, guys? I'm going to give it a second. There it is. Am I back on? Beautiful. All right, so that's touch sparring. You know, you guys should spar like this. You know, beginners and really advanced fighters should spar like this throughout the year, and just save the hard sparring once or twice a week. Of course, when you're prepping for a fight, you might not do touch sparring. You might start sparring hard, you know, for 6-7 weeks out before your fight. But that's a different ball game altogether. For those of you who are just sparring for fun, those of you who are just sparring for fitness, don't try to go out there and spar like a pro fighter. It might be fun to do once in a while, definitely, if you're at that level. But if you don't have that level, you might just get hurt in sparring, you know. So go gradually. It's always sensible to go gradual. Do you touch spar with GSP or Rory? Of course I do, all the time. All the time, you know, especially back in the day. Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Look, I'll tell you guys, one of the greatest strikers I've ever worked with. One of the greatest strikers I've ever worked with. And I'm not trying to say this to name drop. I'm saying this as a privilege. I'm very privileged to work with this man. Is John Wayne Parr. John Wayne Parr he's a master. Okay, like I'll tell you something. The man is a master, right? He's a great Muay Thai fighter. If you guys know Muay Thai, you know John Wayne Parr. For those of you who are not as familiar with Muay Thai, he's one of the top fighters of all time. He's a 10-time world champion. The guy's a monster. And when he spars, I've sparred with him. I've had the privilege of sparring with the man and moving around with him. And the guy doesn't hurt anybody in sparring. Not because he can't. Not at all. Because he's just that friendly guy. And he just wants to practice. He has that good sportsmanship. You know, like he's just a sweet human being. And he spars. But when you see him in a fight, he's deadly. Like he's not nice in the fight. You guys can watch his fights on YouTube. Just type in John Wayne Parr and countless fights are going to pop up. The man has over 100 fights. The man he's a monster. But in sparring, doesn't hurt a soul. Same thing with Raymond Daniels. I've gotten to spar with Raymond Daniels. He's the last guy who's going to hurt you in practice. Not because he can't, but because he has control. He has control of his techniques. That's the question. Beginners have less control. You have more chance to hurt yourself with a beginner because they have less control. And those of you who do jiu-jitsu, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you roll with a beginner, that's when you get scratched. When you get you get the claw marks on you, and then the guy spazzing out, he's the guy who's going to hit you in the groin. He's the guy who's more likely to poke you in the eye and hit you in the groin. These questions are coming in fast here. Why don't you start your own channel and talk more about philosophy and religion? And you're really good at it. Love it. Randomness, videos, etc. Thank you, something 96. But listen, I do have a limited hours in a day. So this channel right now is something I do on the side. Obviously, I run a gym. I train a lot of pros. This is something I do for the sponsors and you guys. Of course, I have a great pleasure in doing this. In the future, when I have more time, I will definitely start a philosophy channel, and we'll talk about all sorts of stuff. We'll talk about everything. You know, we'll talk more about that. And sometimes we touch on it in this channel, but this channel is primarily a martial arts training channel. But in the future, when I have more time, I will definitely make time for that. You know, it's something of interest. Definitely something of interest. Coach, you should always wear gloves in a heavy bag. I think you mean on a heavy bag. No, you don't always have to wear gloves. Sometimes I work the bag, believe it or not, bare knuckled. Again, I like that. I think toughens up my hands. I do not always use gloves when I work the bag. So I'm a big believer in not babying the hands too much. If you baby the hands too much, they get soft. Okay, so I only wear wraps when my hands are hurting, and I do use gloves a lot, of course, because I don't want to ruin the skin on my hands. I don't want to puncture the skin on my hands. But it's not as important as people think. You know, if you have a good bag, you can do it without gloves. And I do find myself quite a bit using bare fist on a glove on a bag. Headgear or no headgear during sparring? Well, listen, if you're touch sparring, you don't need the headgear. If it's two sensible guys sparring, like you saw in the video, I wasn't using headgear. However, if you're a pro preparing for a fight, you should wear headgear. Why? Because it's not really the punches that are the problem. It's really, in my opinion, again, this is my opinion. I don't have any hard facts on this, guys. This is just my years of spending in the gym. It's the head clashing. So when you have pro sparring, we're going intense. We're trying to mimic the intensities of the fight. Heads are going to clash. Heads are going to clash. Now, your head clashes, you get a little cut, fights off. Why? Because you don't want to put on headgear. Headgear is really important for stopping the headbutts. People think it's for the punches. I think it is for the punches as well. However, I've heard people say, no, headgear doesn't protect against impact from the punch. It doesn't do anything. That might be the case. I don't know. I haven't reviewed the literature myself personally, so I'm not going to make any comments on that. I don't know. However, I will tell you one thing. I've seen guys headbutt each other, accidentally, of course, in sparring, both wearing headgear, and cuts don't happen. Where I would think that headbutt would have landed a cut, because sometimes, heads clash really hard. And thankfully, when the headgear's on, it stops the cut. Now, I've seen guys clash heads, no headgear on, lo and behold, cuts. Okay, so it makes total sense, I think, to wear headgear. If there's money, if we're sparring intensely and there's money on the line, you don't want to call in and cancel your fight because you didn't wear headgear and you got cut. You got a cut over your eyebrow, or and now your fight is canceled because you didn't put on headgear. I think it's irresponsible. Mr. Zahabi, is it too late to become a pro after 40 years old? Well, listen, look, if you're 40 years old and you don't have a history of training, I'm assuming you're telling me now, like, I'm 40 years old, I want to turn myself into an MMA fighter. I don't recommend it. Look, you're 40 years old. You need to do something that reflects more your age. Now, I don't want to be negative here, but it doesn't really make sense. Now, if you're telling me you've been wrestling and training your entire life and you're 40 years old, yeah, then if you have the skill, do it. But at 40 years old, it doesn't make as much sense to me for a lot of reasons I don't want to get into. But if you're 40 years old, you might be having like a midlife crisis, and MMA ain't going to fix that. Okay, MMA is not going to help you. It's not going to fix that. You're just going to do MMA and may have a very bad experience, may or may not, I don't know. And then you're still going to be still going to be stuck with the same situation you were in before. Okay, so I don't recommend MMA if you're trying to deal with a midlife crisis by doing MMA. I don't think it's going to help. Mrs. Zahabi, what book is good starting point for understanding mental capacity, acuity, etc.? What do you mean by mental capacity? That is a very vague term, a very general term. You'd have to elaborate. What do you mean by mental capacity? One guy just got banned. Let me ban this gentleman here. Sorry, guys. He was also pre-blocked by YouTube, so I guess he's just a troller. Hide this user from this channel. Okay, that guy's been banned for life. Perfect. And now back to your questions. 22, too old to start? Not at all. Not at all. 22 is very young. Guys, I started at 20. 22 is not old at all. What do we got here? GSP versus Ben Askren. That's a dream fight. That would be a dream fight. I would love to see that fight in grappling and or MMA. So I don't know if Polaris is listening or any of those major grappling associations out there. I don't know why. I don't understand why they haven't at least tried to make that a grappling match. I understand George is with UFC and Askren's with one, and I get that. Okay, but at least a grappling match. These two guys are two of the best grapplers / wrestlers of this generation. They should at least meet up some way, somehow. I think it would be great. I would love to see that match just because of the excellence of both practitioners. George is obviously a supreme grappler wrestler, and obviously Askren is a supreme grappler wrestler. Two very different styles, but two very similar levels. And that would be epic. I think I think the whole grappling community would stop and watch. I think the entire grappling community would stop and watch. This would be epic, But again, I'm sure it would cost a pretty penny. But at the end of the day, that match would be a dream match. What do we got here? What's your take on fish oils, and what about protein shakes? I love fish oils. Fish oils is great. Get the fish oil. I don't believe in taking it necessarily every day, but periodically, fish oil is great. Guys, the literature is out there on fish oil. It's good, man. It's almost like a miracle drug. If there was a miracle drug out there, the closest thing to a miracle drug will probably be fish oil. Inman. All right, small interruption here, guys. Give me 1 second. مدهري ما بدهري سكريري ودهري. Am I back on? Hopefully back on. Sorry, guys. Small interruption. Small interruption. What were we talking about? I forget. Oh, yeah, fish oil. Fish oil is one of the most important supplements you could take. It's the best. It's the closest thing to a do-all drug. Okay, so in my opinion, fish oil is very good. Get the good kind, the high-quality kind. Don't get the cheap stuff. Get from a name brand, a brand that has something to lose. Guys, just a quick note. Is my volume still good? I messed around with it. Is my volume still good? Yeah, live TV. That's the way it is, guys. If there was a hit on me and I was streaming on live on YouTube, you guys would be able to solve my case. I could kind of flip the camera over on the hitman, and you guys will get a good look at the hitman before he kills me. That's one of the benefits of live streaming. All right, here the questions are coming in real fast. Everything all good? Volume is good. All right. How young to start your child in BJJ? Well, that's a good question. I'll tell you what. I teach a kids class, and I'll tell you guys, it's hard to teach kids BJJ. It's really, really difficult. Very, very difficult. Sometimes not worth the effort. Like people who try to start their kids too young. Like I see parents bringing their kids in. I start them at the age of 4. And I think that's that's like the ultimate limit. Like 3 years old, I see people trying to teach their kids jiu-jitsu at 3 years old. It's too early, guys. It's just way too early. 4 years old, let them have fun. Don't even try to teach them. Just kind of roll around with them. Get them in a routine. It's more about establishing a fun routine, association with having fun. I started my kids at 4 years old, but I started them really like play. Like barely anything. Just like rolling around, having fun. 4 years old is just like a playtime. When do you actually start discussing technique with them? I would say, guys, save yourself the time and trouble. 6, 7 years old. And really the most basic technique. The most basic. Like, don't even get into, like, details. Avoid all the details. You're just boring the kid and you're just frustrating yourself. Teach them the most primitive grip. Just, here's how you grab the wrist. Here's how you grab the neck. Here's how you hold the guy in underhook. Just really basic. And keep it fun. Have fun. Don't get too serious. If you get too serious, it's just going to complicate the matter. And then when they're older, they're going to hate jiu-jitsu. 8 or 9 is even better. 8 or 9 is even better. 4, 5, 6, it's just fun. Playing around, having fun. My kids are around it all the time, so they kind of pick it up just by watching. And, of course, I make them do technique, and they do it well. They get the idea. However, we really started slowly, like really incremental, like ridiculously slow. Just one little step at a time. And then after a year, it just clicks. After 2 years, it really clicks. And then they kind of do things on their own and you didn't have to explain them anything. They're just doing it on their own. They just understood the technique. There's a point in time where it'll click. There's a point in time. Be patient for that point in time. Because at first it'll seem like you've been training them, for 6 months and they haven't gotten any better. You will go through that period. Definitely. But don't worry about it. They're going to get good. You don't have to worry about that. Should I learn wrestling or BJJ first? Do them both. I learned wrestling and BJJ at the same time. I think both of them are good. It's just moves. Don't think about it as wrestling and jiu-jitsu. You know, everybody should look like, all the grapplers in the world should look like a Damian Maya, a GSP, an Askren. They got great takedowns. They got great jiu-jitsu. No compromise. No compromise. Just do them both. Seminar in Germany. Guys, next time I'm in Germany. Guys, I love Germany. I was just in Germany about 8 months ago. Love Germany. Beautiful place. I would love to do a seminar in Germany. The next time I'm in Germany, I actually have a contact for Germany. I will be doing a seminar in Germany next time I'm there. Should you be doing stretch, yoga, cardio, and skill training every day? No, not necessarily every day. Not necessarily every day. That's trying to do too many things in one day. Okay? Prioritize. What's more important to you? Seminar in Turkey. Definitely would love to come to Turkey. Next time I'm in Turkey, guys. I've never been to Turkey, but if I ever get the chance to go to Turkey, I will be doing a seminar with you guys there, no doubt. Love to go to Turkey. Definitely. BJJ is destroying my body. Any advice? Yes, you're training too hard, too intense. You're training too hard, too intense. You're rolling too hard, too intense. Do some flow rolling. Don't worry. Flow rolling is not going to destroy your jiu-jitsu. I do a lot of flow rolling, guys. I do a lot of it. Flow roll when you're not feeling good. When you're feeling good, roll normally. Sometimes when I'm flow rolling, I warm up so much that I start feeling really, really well. And the next round, I'm going to go live, man. I'm going to go for it. I feel really, really good. Some days I go in the gym, I'm not feeling so good. I'm not feeling that healthy. I'm not feeling that energy. I just flow roll. So use flow roll, guys. It's not... some people think, oh, no, I don't want to flow roll. It's going to destroy my game. What are you talking about? It makes no sense. That makes totally no sense whatsoever. You're going through the sequences. You're moving your body. You're going through the transitions. How's that making that makes your jiu-jitsu better? Do you train during Ramadan? Guys, I've answered this question many, many times. I'm going to answer it again. Do I train during Ramadan? Yes, I do. But this Ramadan, I've only been doing Olympic lifting. It's really hot here in Canada. It's very, very hot. It's very hot in the gym. Okay, so this is the summer Ramadans are tough. So I just do Olympic lifting and I teach technique. So instead of drilling technique, I'm kind of teaching the technique. So that's my drilling. So basically you can count it as I'm doing light drilling and then some Olympic lifting. My Olympic lifting is very short and very light. Very, very short, very, very light. I'm not catching the weight. I'm just dropping the weight. I use a high pull. And I told you guys I might do a high pull video. An exercise I like to do a lot. I think it's an excellent exercise. So basically it's like a clean and jerk. Except instead of jerking it to your shoulders, you just drop the weight. You pull it up and you drop it back down. The advantage of that, by not catching the weight, you're not creating muscle soreness. Thoughts on athletes using marijuana? Look, guys, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know anything about that. I've never used marijuana. So I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if there is any benefits or it's just all in people's heads. I don't know. I haven't really read any studies on that whatsoever, actually. How do you get over your ego and not wanting to lose or tap? Rather play it safe instead of dropping ego and taking more chances. You know what? I'll tell you something. You got to adopt one particular belief. And one particular belief I'll tell you is, I always tell people that like one of the two greatest pleasures in life, and these are one of the two greatest pleasures in life, is learning and teaching. Learning is one of the greatest pleasures in life, and teaching is one of the greatest pleasures in life. You probably just don't notice it. When you learn something new, you probably just don't take the moment to experience the feeling of learning something new, learning some information that's actually beneficial to you. And there's an intrinsic value there. So you have extrinsic value, okay, so when you get a new car, you have a new job, an increase in pay, these are all extrinsic things. They help put food on the table. They help you shelter yourself. They help you with your external needs. However, human beings also have an intrinsic need for they also have a need for intrinsic value, something that just makes you feel good. And learning something and growing as a person is one of the greatest feelings you can ever have. And teaching somebody helping somebody should also be one of the greatest feelings in the world. And if you adopt this narrative, if you adopt this belief that learning and teaching is one of the greatest joys in the world, when you get armbarred or you get swept or whatever, you're going to take that as a learning opportunity. You're going to ask that person, hey, how did you do that? Can you show me that? Can you go over it with me? Or you're going to go ask your sensei, and he's going to help you out. And that experience itself should be very, very pleasurable. But instead, you're in your mind. You're wrestling with your ego. You're thinking, hey, this armbar proves that I'm not the world's greatest grappler. There's like a dialogue going around in your head. There's an inference being made in your mind. And that inference is really destroying your experience on the mat. Instead, flip it around. What can I learn from this? What struggles that other people go through? They went through this. They figured it out. There's a solution to this problem. It's out there. If somebody shares that with me, it shows that they care about you. It shows that they're a nice person. You should have a gratitude towards them. Me, anytime anybody ever shows me anything or teaches me something, I feel like I owe them a debt. And I think that this has helped me a lot in my career, because whenever somebody ever showed me something, I'm always quick to thank them, remember them, be extra friendly to them, really show my appreciation. And I think that makes them want to show me more things in the future. I think that makes them want to teach me even more in the future. And it creates a synergy. And then I'm more than happy to reciprocate. Anytime I can show them something, I can reciprocate. And it creates a synergy in the gym. However, you go to some gyms, and some gyms are like, hey, I armbarred you. I'm snickering about it at the water cooler. I'm telling everybody how I armbarred you. I'm telling everybody how, I got your number and this and that. And that just creates a bad atmosphere. Okay, so you want to try to get away from that. You want to try to have a good attitude. Make learning and teaching your two primary goals. And your jiu-jitsu will be better. Your jiu-jitsu, no doubt, will be better. Man, what languages do you speak at home? Well, we speak Arabic, English, and French. So trilingual here. Hey, Coach, you announced this podcast somewhere. Yes, check out my Twitter. It's @farazzahabi@gmail.com. I'm going to type it in for you right now. No, sorry, it's not is it @faraz? Yeah, it's @faraz_. Hold on, I'm going to type it for you right now. Zahabi. That's my Twitter, guys. I always pump it out on Twitter first, a few minutes before I go on. So follow me on Twitter. We got ourselves a super chat. Let's see what it says. You mentioned warming up wrestling with snap downs, duck unders, etc. How do you warm up for striking? Just shadow boxing? Yes, shadow boxing is very, very important. No doubt about it. So I do a lot of shadow boxing. Maybe I'll hit the bag a little bit. But I also like to warm up with partner drills. I really like partner drills. Like my partner will jab me and I'll just kind of slip. My partner will kick me. I'll just kind of block. And then I'll do maybe 3 jabs, 3 kicks. He'll do 3 jabs. I'll do 3 slips. Then he'll kick me 3 times. I'll block all 3 kicks. And then I'll reciprocate. We just do a little partner drill. I really like partner drills. I think partner drills are great. But the best of the best is lots of hours of touch sparring. Touch sparring. And just have fun, because when it's fun, you're going to do a lot of it. Have you ever rolled Braulio? Yes, I've rolled a lot with Braulio Estima. I've got a lot of training from Braulio Estima. A lot of stuff I show you guys is really a lot of, Braulio is one of the guys who's mentored me the most. He's really up there. I love Braulio Estima. He's a great human being, really great person, good friend of mine, an incredible instructor. An incredible instructor. Braulio Estima is probably one of the best instructors on the planet, no doubt about it. If you guys get a chance to check out his material is unbelievable. He explains it so well. He's one of those guys who's married teaching technique and teaching concepts together so well. His concepts are just game changers. So definitely Braulio's materials is unbelievable. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up real soon. I got a plane to catch in not too long. Seminars in Latin America, guys. My next visit into Latin America, I will try to do a seminar. No doubt about it. Thoughts on chiropractic? I don't really use chiropractics. I've had it done on me. I prefer physiotherapy. I don't even use physiotherapy, guys. I don't use chiropractic. I don't use physiotherapy. People ask me, they come into the gym all the time. They ask me, hey, could you recommend me a good physio? Now, my fighters use physios because they train really, at another level. They're training like for fights. Okay, so their bodies are grinding a little bit harder than I would, because I'm not preparing for a fight, right? I'm training for life, longevity. I'm not training for that level. So if you're a pro fighter, get that good physio guy that you know you can go to if you got something that's tight and you need to be realigned, and have somebody follow you. And I think if you have chronic pain, go see a physio guy. However, daily maintenance, regular maintenance on your own body, guys, I've said it before. I'm going to type it in again. Get Supple Leopard. It's one of the best books out there. Supple Leopard, Becoming a Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett. I know I talk about it all the time. I'm just going to type it in by Kelly Starrett and then move on because I've talked about it so many times. So I'm just going to move on. Check out that book. You need that book. It's the best. Get a Tim Tam Power. It's the best. Keep your body limber and keep your body healthy. One word for Donald Trump. I'm going to pass on that one. Okay, I'm going to pass on that one. But I'll make a quick comment. You know, as a Canadian, you know, I don't follow politics too much. I don't follow American politics too much. But I've never seen the U.S. so divided. I've never seen the U.S. so divided. And I'm not going to take any sides here. I don't know much about politics, but I've never seen the U.S. so divided. And it's kind of scary a little bit because you have so many, you know, it comes up in my feed all the time. Trump is all over the feed, whether you like it or not. Like if you turn on YouTube, he's all over the feed. I've never seen a country disrespect their leader so much. Like it's like a daily attack. And there's a lot of strong feelings behind these. And this is just as an outsider. And, you know, I've obviously seen many presidents go like all of us. We've all seen many presidents come in the office and whatnot. And Canadian politics are way more boring than American politics, at least what I can tell, because I don't follow politics very much, guys. I'm very, very limited when it comes to commenting on politics. But I've never seen the U.S. so divided for and both against the president. Both for and against the president. So really interesting times. Very, very interesting times. Bro, will you ever think about doing a seminar in London? I did one last time I was about, but it was a surprise seminar. Next time I will announce it. I just kind of popped in. I went there with a friend and I just kind of popped in and did an impromptu seminar. And we had a lot of fun. I said the next time I'm in London, I will do an official seminar. And we'll tell you guys about it here. The U.S. was way more divided when Obama was president. Well, I guess so, maybe. You know, again, you guys are telling me. I really don't know. I just feel this like daily war. You know, like maybe I didn't pay as much attention to Obama as I'm paying to Trump. But like, I feel like every time I turn on YouTube, there's all this pro or anti-Trump stuff. Again, this is just my impression. For us, were you born in Lebanon? No, I was born in Montreal. I'm born and raised here in Canada. Is half guard best guard for MMA? Well, it could be. You know, it depends if you're a good guard player. I think it's level. It's not necessarily. I've seen some really brilliant half guard players, and I've seen some really brilliant full guard players. And I think it's you know, we used to have this debate. 5-10 years ago, if you said half guard was the game to play, you were like part of a cult. And a lot of the old school guys would be like, no, like the old school guys, we're talking about, if we're going back 15 years ago, half guard was bad. Like nobody would recommend half guard. It was, or a very small group. Today, the half guard game has been so developed and so many brilliant half guard practitioners have been successful with half guard. The attitude is far more relaxed. And half guard is a brilliant system. However, can you master it? That's the question. It's more a question of level than style. So go with the one you feel most comfortable with. Excuse me. Here we go. Damian Maya sweeps or gets everyone's back. I don't know what you mean by that. All right, guys. Let me do one last one here. One last one. Do you believe in flat earth or fake moon landing? Oh, boy. Guys, I'm going to skip that one. We've talked about it in the past. Let me just skip that one. Wow, I get that question a lot. 28 years old, to start to MMA. 22 years old, to start. Is that too old to start? Guys, it's never too old to start. If you're asking me you want to compete at a high level, 28 might be a little bit late. Okay. If you want to train, training, there's no age for training. You can start training at any age. Just go really scale it down, get it really mellow, find friendly people to train with. But if you're talking about an MMA career, guys, I would say the cutoff for MMA career will be like 25. If you want to go like UFC, if you start at 25 and you have to have so much on your side. Okay, I'm talking about you're a smart guy, you're athletic, you're physical, like you're tough. You're not fragile mentally or physically. By the time you're 30, you can be at that UFC level. You could be if you have a great trainer. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of things on your side for this to happen. But generally, it's a tough climb. Here we go. Okay, last one. Giorgio Petrosyan versus Conor McGregor. Glory, who wins? Guys, no doubt about it. In my opinion, Giorgio Petrosyan. The kicks, the punishing knees, the pressure. Guys, no doubt about it. I mean, we saw the fight between Diaz. And don't forget, Petrosyan has a freakishly long reach. No doubt about it. In my opinion, it would be like a huge plus for Petrosyan. Thoughts on fascism? Fascism is not good. No, fascism is not good. Fascism a very bad idea. Very, very bad idea. Not good for the fascist state itself and not good for the people. It's just bad for everyone. In the long run, it's not sustainable. In the long run, it's negative for everyone. When are you going on Joe Rogan? All right. Yeah, like I said, it's June 19th, guys. June 19th. I believe that is a Tuesday. I will be on the Joe Rogan show live. I believe it's live at 1 p.m. So mark your calendars. We're going to have some fun. What we got here? All right. Let's end on a fun one. Communism, the steal. What's the steal? What's communism, the steal? All right. I think you're asking about communism. Stepchild of socialism. Yes, we are socialists here in Canada. Okay, guys, this will be the last one. Is Canada communist or socialist? For those of you who don't know, we're socialists. What does that mean? Well, we have a lot of socialist programs. Like if you don't have a job, the government will pay you. It'll take taxpayers' money and pay you. He'll give you a salary. He'll give you food. He'll give you a place to stay. You can live off the state. If you're a single mom and you need assistance, you can get taxpayers' money and you can live off the state. So socialism is the government basically takes a chunk of your paycheck and distributes it out to those who are in need. Okay, now here's the problem with that. Of course, we got to be charitable. Of course, we want to help people in need. I'm all for that. However, the downside of socialism is people say they're in need when they're not in need, right? So you can be subsidized by the government and also working under the table, or you could just be lazy and you're happy with getting a small amount of money and kind of just being semi-retired. You just kind of like live off the government and you mooch off him, and it creates a dependency. Okay, so socialism can create a dependency. This is a problem we have here in Canada. Why? Politicians want those votes. They ask people, hey, what do you guys want? They're like, we want more subsidies. Tax the rich, tax the people with money. And then and it creates this snowball effect where you get the taxes go slightly higher and higher all the time because people are always asking for more and more subsidies, and people are getting more and more dependent on the government. And the more dependent you are on the government, the more control he has over you. And there's that negative part of socialism that people critique socialism for. Then you have the plus side. We don't have any poor people in the streets. If you walk around in Canada, you don't see any people living on the street. So you see a very small amount. Okay, very small. I know there is. If you go to East Hastings in Vancouver, if you go to different parts of, it's actually pretty limited to very few parts in Canada, but there are some people who do live in the streets. Now, usually those are people who are addicted to drugs or have a mental illness, and they don't know how to work the system. The system's not aware of them probably, or they're just not. They're not reaching out to the state. They don't know. They don't have the mental capacity. They might be suffering from a serious mental illness. In Canada, if you need a life-saving surgery, you're getting it. You might have to wait in line, but you're getting it. If you need medical treatment, you might have to wait in line, but you're getting it. So there's pluses and there's plus side and the negative side to socialism. I'll let you guys tell me what you think is the best. You know, I'm not gonna really pick a camp here. Okay, I think there are pros and cons to every system. However, communism is that everything is owned by the state. So this is like an extreme version of socialism. Everything's owned by the state. You don't own anything. So you're born, and we tell you where your job's going to be. You know, like in philosophy, we have to read Marx. Okay, you can't become a philosophy student. You can't become a philosophy graduate and have never read Marx. Okay, Marx is one of the most influential human beings in history, and he dreamed up a world where he believed, and this is very important, especially even relevant to training. It is relevant to training. He said, "Look, you're gonna be your own. You're gonna be your own. You're gonna be your own farmer. You're gonna be your own. What do you call those guys who bend steel? You're gonna be your own. I'm forgetting now. Blood sugar's low, guys. I apologize. You're gonna be your own locksmith. You're gonna be your own guy. You're gonna do, instead of having a guy who makes shoes and a guy who makes the shields and a guy who farms. No. Everybody's gonna do a little bit of everything. Or the state is gonna tell you what you're good at doing. The state is gonna tell you that, okay, you're gonna go and cut the grass over here. Okay, you guys are gonna go build a shelter. We need to build a shelter, and the government's really gonna run your life. He's gonna tell you what to do. So the problem with this is it kills creativity and it kills competition. Why would you try to do better than the quota? So let's say you're making shoes in a factory. Your quota is to make 10 pairs of shoes a day. Now, if you were to make 12, the other workers are going to be really upset with you. They're going to be like, hey, stop trying to show us up. Make 10. Don't make 12. Because if you make 12, the owners are going to be asking why we're not making 12. And the new quota is going to be 12 now, or 15 or 20. So if you try to progress, if you try to do things more efficiently, your coworkers are going to get really upset with you. Whereas in capitalism, if you could produce 12 shoes, 15 shoes, or it could produce shoes at a lesser cost, or you can be more efficient in some way, the market will reward you. The market, the invisible hand, will reward you. Now, this is the major critique against communism. There are many, there are several, but this is the one I think is the death blow to communism. Communism kills creativity, it kills productivity, but it also kills efficiency. So you look at all the communist states throughout history. Can anybody think of one communist state that flourished? And the communist interlocutors will usually say that, oh, it wasn't real communist. It wasn't real communism. It wasn't real communism. Guys, communism will always, there's always a level of corruption. Capitalism is corrupted as well. Socialism is corrupted as well. Every system has a level of corruption. Why is it that communism never worked and always resulted in suffering? Look at Venezuela, for instance. Because whenever you make things, do you guys not, like, is there anybody out there who believes the government is efficient? Or is the government notoriously known for being inefficient? The government is notoriously known for being inefficient. Government workers can keep their job even if they're incompetent. However, you know, it's funny because my wife, she works for the government. She's a school teacher. And we have this back and forth. And I remember when I was trying to make her understand that, like, look, when you work for yourself, when you own a company, you live out there in the jungle. It's kill or be killed. It's thrive or die. When you work for the government, you guys are represented by a body. You guys are represented by, you guys have your rights. You have your unions. You have all these protective barriers between you and the government that you guys voted in. You guys get together, you work as a group, and you voted yourselves your rights. You know, you guys have band together, and now they have to give you these certain luxuries. Even if you're incompetent, you have to. Let's say you're an incompetent school teacher. You'd have to be extremely incompetent to get fired. Why? Because you're protected by the associations, the teachers' associations, etc. You know, it's different around the world, of course, but the government workers are known to be less efficient, more protected. It's less competitive than being out there in the business world. Now, when you're out there in the jungle, in the business world, your senses are far sharper. Why? because there's death at every turn. If you don't flourish, if you're not efficient, if you're not intelligent, if you're not giving good service, if you're not doing all these great things, if you're not hustling, the market's going to eat you up and spit you out. That's just the nature of the free market. So this is the big critiques of socialism and communism, and I think there's a lot to be said. I'm putting it in a nutshell for the person who asked me the question, but don't you find this also creeping into MMA or jiu-jitsu in particular? So if you look at the jiu-jitsu world nowadays, the jiu-jitsu academies have a more of a pressure to allow attendance to dictate belt promotions, as opposed to performance on the mat. So before, in the classic days of jiu-jitsu, when we were coming up, if you weren't good enough to be a purple belt, you didn't get your purple belt. To get your purple belt, you'd have to be on par with the purple belts, and then we'd give you a purple belt. If you were not on par with the purple belts, we wouldn't give you a purple belt. And I still hold this criteria today. However, a lot of gyms these days, they kind of promote you to a belt if you've been around long enough, if you've paid your membership, and you have a certain level of attendance, you get your belt. And what happens to jiu-jitsu? The same thing that happened to karate. In the 70s, karate black belts were killers. And the karate black belts were killers. You can watch fights online between karate guys and Muay Thai guys. There was a famous instance where 3 karate guys were invited to fight 3 Muay Thai guys in Thailand. And 2 of the 3 karate guys actually won their fights. Masoyama's 3 black belts, 2 of the 3 won their fights against legitimate Thai guys. Now today, when you tell people you have a karate black belt, sometimes people will snicker at you. Why? Because a lot of karate schools today are watered down. You go in there, you do your karate. Even today, karate schools will guarantee you that you get your belt by a certain time. You sign a contract that if you stay here for 3 years, you have a certain amount of attendance, or 4 years, or whatever the contract is, you get your black belt in a limited amount of time. They guarantee you the black belt. Now, every time you do a belt exam, you have to pay, and of course, it becomes a business. Now, if karate teachers didn't do this, the guy down the street is doing it. So the member will be like, hey, why would I bust my chops training here with you, sparring, training really, really hard, and progressing going through the belts at a slower rate, when the guy down the street is giving away the belts, and I can go around telling my friends I'm a black belt. I can post on my social media that I'm so good, I've got my black belt. I've been promoted several times. I'm really, really good at karate. The downside of that is that one day you get into a fight and you don't know how to defend yourself. The downside in jiu-jitsu is that when you roll, somebody comes in from out of town, he's a good purple belt, you're a black belt, you're a black belt, a not so good black belt, a black belt that was promoted way too fast. You roll with this purple belt who's hardcore, who's a real purple belt, who has a much more strict instructor, a much more authentic instructor, and you get crushed by a purple belt. Well, you should be really angry with your instructor because he promoted you too fast. Promoting the student too fast is not good for the student. Not in jiu-jitsu, because in jiu-jitsu, you got to roll. Now, I've had many, many jiu-jitsu practitioners leave their gym and come train with me because their instructors are promoting them too early. And that's the importance of competition. Competition is very important. If you put your student in an environment of competition, healthy competition, there is unhealthy competition, no doubt about it. And we'll talk about that maybe on another day. If you create an environment of healthy competition, and that needs to be defined on a later day, you'll get the best out of your student. If you give your student an environment where healthy competition is removed, and sparring is removed, and reality is toned down. We turn the volume down on reality, what really works. And we're more about business now, about power, about me having more members, about me having more memberships sold, about me making more money. What happens is your student and your brand suffer, because eventually people are going to catch on. People are going to be like, hey, this guy, he gave me my purple belt after 2 years. And I'm getting tapped out by blue belts who come in from out of town, or I went out of town and rolled at a gym, and people are like surprised that I'm a purple belt. People are shocked. I'd rather be a purple belt that taps out black belts than a black belt who gets tapped out by blue belts. And I've seen some guys who I've rolled with who had their black belt, which I really thought was crazy. Why was this person given their black belt? It always comes down to marketing and money and business, and And we remove the healthy competition. And I find that communism and socialism to a far lesser degree, removes that healthy competition that we need to get the best out of ourselves. Okay? If you want to get the best out of yourself, you need a certain level of competition, a certain level of free market, a certain level of reality, a dose of reality. Now, in the long run, communist countries get out competed by other countries. So other countries with a free market. So you can be the owner of your gym, you could be the ruler of a country, and then you have this great surge of power. Why? Because you're controlling all the resources. You're controlling everything. But your neighbors are going to outcompete you. In the long run, your neighbors are going to outcompete you. So it doesn't make sense. Look at karate schools out there. They're dead. Karate schools have taken a dive. Since MMA has come out, MMA is making a killing. MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing. People watch MMA. Everybody knows. And karate guys are very good. The real karate guys, yes. But your instructor with the local gym, he never produced one fighter. Maybe guys. I'm a karate black belt. FYI, I love karate. Okay, I'm not trying to kick karate down. Okay, I love karate. Karate is the best. I love karate. It's one of the top arts in the world. Real authentic karate, not the watered down version. And people are trying to water down jiu-jitsu. People are going to water down judo. People are going to water down every functional art. I'm talking about specifically the watered down versions. Keep that healthy competition. Healthy competition results in efficiency. Efficiency results in success. All right, guys. I thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you guys had as much fun as me. I'm headed off to London very shortly. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to do another episode this week. If not, I'll be doing my best to film for next week. And I'm going to be hopefully filming a half guard octopus video for you guys on this channel. And of course, for my Patreons, check out my Patreon channel. You guys are going to be getting a new video today and hopefully also another one this week, a technical video. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all.